Hey guys, it's Alexandra. Today I'm going to be talking with Ellie, who is actually a survivor of the Manchester bombing. Back in 2017, during an Ariana Grande concert in the UK, there was a terrorist attack, and Ellie was in the crowd during that time and was luckily able to escape and is here to share her experience. When things like that hit the news, it's hard to, keep in mind that there were actual people there and we lose sight of those firsthand experiences. So she is going to be recounting everything that went down that day and how she was feeling, how survivor's guilt plays a part in that, how her perspective on life changed. I think it's fascinating to be able to hear from somebody who endured that kind of tragedy. So I hope that you will stay tuned to check out her story, learn something new. I will leave her information below, and you can subscribe for more videos. All right, thank you so much. I was so grateful that you were able to connect with me and reach out about your own experience in Manchester. And I'm so glad that you're still here. I think it's something that
Thank you.
is often probably goes through your mind. So I am glad that, you're able to have the ability to reflect on that and tell your story and be here as a survivor. So if whenever you are comfortable, you are free to take the floor and kind of share your experience in Manchester and, what it was like and what you went through.
Yeah, so I'm really sorry if you can hear the thunder, but yeah. Well, it was really, really. So I'm 21 years old now, and so when the bombing happened, I was 17, and it was my first concert that I'd been to without like a parent or something there. Um, and I remember it was just so exciting. I mean, my friends that I was going with, they were the same age as me. Well, one of them was a bit younger actually. I think she was 15, but my other friend was the same age as me. So, I mean, we were so excited. We had these VIP tickets. We got to go into like the private room beforehand and have like something really, like a really nice meal or something like that. Um, and we were, I mean, I'd never seen Ariana Grande before at this point. So, I mean, I love Ariana Grande. I have done since she was on Victorious. But yeah, we went there with a really excited mind frame and wanting to just let loose, and it was the first time we do anything with our friends and things like that. And then we went to, where did we go? Oh, we were in the hotel first, and then we went from the hotel, like we walked to the arena because it wasn't that far. It was probably a few hundred meters. It wasn't very far. And I remember as we went on the way there was this sense of, I don't know why, I'm not going to try and sound like I'm a psychic, but I had this like sense of dread. I don't know how to explain it, but I sort of brushed it off when we went in and thought, that, oh, well, it is what it is. We're going to have a good time and whatnot. And we did have a really good time actually. And I'm really sorry if you can hear that, there's someone in my house, but but yeah, it was a really good time, to be fair. And I mean, she is incredible. But I remember we had this really good time, like partying and all of this. And then whilst we were in the concert hall, my phone died. I had my phone at the time and it died. And so it had no like energy, whatever. So it's quite hazy still to me. So at some points it's kind of hard for me to remember things. So I might keep going back and forth. But I remember that in front of us, we were on like, where it sort of slopes up and you have the stairs that go up and the rows. So we were on one of them, and in front of us there was a young 5-year-old girl, and I know that was her first concert because I spoke to her mum, and so she was quite chilled out, just enjoying herself. And then in front of her there was a group of young men who were partying and having drinks and whatnot. And they seemed quite fun. So we were just, having a little dance with them and whatnot. And I remember as the concert, so she sang, I don't know if you know the song Dangerous Woman. She sang Dangerous Woman and then the lights sort of came up and she had gone off the stage. And so that was at 10:30. And then I remember, because I said to my friend, what time is it? And then he said, oh, it's 10:33, and showed me his phone. And then the moment he said that, from the top of the stairs, now it didn't sound like this because the concert is shaped for the sound to come from the center of the room. So it sounded like from the middle of the room, this will like almighty explosion happen. And so, I mean, obviously your mind frame doesn't go to, that's a bomb. So in my mind, I was thinking, has someone just been shot? Do you know what I mean? Something like that. But it wasn't from the center of the room, but everybody did look into the middle because that's just the dynamics of the room. But obviously we knew it wasn't that when the people at the top of the stairs, because where the bomb went off was literally just after the top of the stairs where we were. And everybody there turned around and started running back down, and they all looked horrified. And so we didn't really know what was going on. So we were all holding on to each other to sort of make sure we weren't being separated or whatnot. But where the crowd had gone crazy, we got separated from each other. So I sort of saw them disappear into the crowd. And at this point, my heart was racing because I didn't really know what was going on. I mean, I don't think anybody there really did, unless they'd witnessed the actual explosion. But then I went up the stairs because I thought, right, okay, I need to get out of this building. So I knew the only way to get out was the way I came in. So I kept running up and I was trying to figure out where I was going. And I was thinking, right, okay, yes, I've seen this stall, like a merchandise store. I've seen this. I know that I've been past this, so I need to keep on going down that way. And then I found the little door that goes into the foyer, which was the exit. So I ran in there, and all I remember is when I first ran in there, because I was looking down at the floor because I had some big shoes on, so I didn't want to fall over. And I remember when I was looking down on the floor, as I went in there, when I think back to it, it did look a little bit more sort of hazy, like smoky. And then all I remember is people started running back towards me. So I thought, all right, I've got to look what's going on. So I remember as I looked up, that's when I saw everybody on the floor that had been obviously injured by the bomb. And I mean, when I look back on it, at some point in my mind, I don't know whether it was because I wanted to believe it wasn't real. I sort of had the feeling that someone was going to come out and say it was a prank. One of them shows where they do that.
Right.
And I just kept holding on to it like, oh, this has got to be a joke. I feel like I'm on a movie set. But then I think it suddenly hit me that it wasn't. And then I turned around and I thought, okay, I've got to go back inside the concert hall and hide. Because after this, I think it was probably people falling over, but I thought I could hear like gunshots. And I think it was probably in that moment that I realized that what had happened was an explosion. So I remember when I came back into the hallway of the concert, I was sort of trying to find another way to get out. But so I was in two minds. I was thinking, do I hide? Do I leave? And I couldn't figure it out. In the end, I remember I was just looking for my friends and I couldn't see them anywhere, but I saw these people leaving the building on another exit. So I ran to that door and I ran outside. And the moment I was outside, it was almost as though this like weight had been lifted off me that I managed to escape. And I remember that I was looking around and because my friends, they stood out quite a lot. I mean, my friend Ellie, she had bright hair, bright lips, and she had this denim outfit on. I mean, she would have been easily spottable. But so I was like, oh, has anybody seen my friend described? And everybody just had this blank expression on their face. No one really, I don't think it had sunk into anybody what had happened, but it had at the same time. But I didn't really get an answer from that. But I remember when because the way that Manchester Arena is laid out, so you have, there's like a load of doors, and as you go from the inside out, there's a load of stairs that go down into the street. So I remember I was stood at the top of the stairs, and this is when I heard another sound that sounded like a gunshot. And it just, in that moment, I think I just sort of faced the fact that what was happening was a life or death situation. Now, it wasn't a gunshot, just for the record. Nobody was actually shooting there, but obviously in that mind frame, that's what my mind went to. And then, so I ran down the stairs thinking I need to get away from this. And the first place that I could run to, it's under a bridge tunnel type thing. And I don't know if you have them are you from the US?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know if you have them in the US, but in the UK we have them. They're internet boxes. So they're a green, it's painted green, it's a metal box, and it all connects up, and that's how people can receive their Wi-Fi and stuff like that. And they're quite big. So I thought, right, okay, I'm gonna have to try and hide behind that. But the wall was painted black and that was green. And I was wearing bright white. I had bright pink hair. And I thought, I had my head like tucked down like that. And I thought, okay, well, I'm gonna stand out. So in that moment, I thought, I'm gonna die because I'm gonna stand out. So in that moment, I thought, I don't want to see what's going to happen. If it's going to happen to me, I just want it to happen without me knowing, because then I wouldn't know anything about my own demise. And then these two girls came over to me and they sort of like lifted me up. And I think in that moment, it was just so terrifying, and I didn't know who they were. And I mean, when I saw them, that's when it sort of calmed me. But before that, I thought there was somebody picking me up to, harm me or something. I've never ever managed to see those girls again, but I really wish that I could thank them, because they stayed with me until I found my friends, and they sort of comforted me, and they were so nice to me. And I remember when that happened, it happened so quickly. I mean, I had my phone, it was so bizarre. I kept clicking my phone and I was thinking to myself, just please turn on, please turn on, please turn on. And it did. It was so weird. It's never happened to me before, but it did turn on. So the first thing I did was I rang my friend Jamie and I said, where are you? I'm here, And so then he found me around the corner, and that thunder's really going crazy, sorry. But yeah, he found me around the corner, and these girls then said, oh, I'm really glad that you found your friend. We're going to leave you to it. But I hope you're okay and whatnot. And I never really, because it happened so quickly, I never got the chance to say thank you. So I really wish that I could say thank you to them if I could ever find out who they were. Wow. But yeah, so I remember from that moment, I then phoned my mum, because my mum was where I live, which is about 2.5 hours away from, maybe 3 hours from Manchester. And which I don't think that's a lot for where you come from in America, but from where we come from, 3 hours is like across the country. But so I phoned my mum, and my mum answered the phone, and she heard me sort of out of breath on the phone, because obviously I was like panicking. And I remember the words that she said to me were, oh, you okay, love? Did you have a nice time? How was Ariana Grande? Did you have, a good time? And in that moment, I think it was just, I tried to compile everything that had happened into one sentence. And the only thing I could say was, we've been attacked. And so she thought that I meant that we had been physically attacked by, personally. So she didn't really understand. And then I said, no, terrorist attack. And that's when I think she accused me of lying. She said, oh, don't joke about that. That's not funny. And I think that's when I really got distraught. And I said to her, no, there's really been an attack, a serious attack. It's in the arena. We're running away from it as we speak. And that's when my dad had gone onto Twitter, because this was when my parents were still together, and my dad was there as well. And he went onto Twitter, and he saw on Twitter that there'd been an attack in Manchester, because it hadn't reached mainstream news at this point.
Right.
And that's when my mum tried to come to Manchester, and Manchester had been sort of closed off. No one could come in or out of Manchester. So all I remember doing from this point is I said to my mum, because my phone was on its last legs. I don't know why. It was such a dodgy phone, but I said to my mum, I'm going to go back to the hotel. I'm going to ring you when I get to the hotel. But for now, I need to focus on what I'm doing. So we got back to the hotel. And I remember we got into our hotel room and we were sat in there for a little bit. And that was when, because I was on the phone to my mum then, because I put my phone on charge. And that was when on the news behind me that I wasn't actually listening. It had already reached the news. But because I was talking to my mum, I wasn't really focused on what they were saying.
Mm-hmm.
And they announced on the news that they were going to be doing a controlled explosion because they found a suspicious package in, I think it was a church opposite our hotel. And so they'd found this package, I think it was somebody's backpack. And so they had to blow it up because they didn't want it to explode, with somebody too close. Or so they announced this on the news, but I didn't hear that's what they were saying. So our window was open. I was sat, the window was like here.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember this like massive explosion happened behind us. And I think that probably messed me up more than the first one, because with the first one, it was sort of unexpected. And the second one was unexpected, but because it was unexpected, after I'd just been through something like that, I think I can't even put into words how scary that was. But I mean, the whole area where we were, because it was on our street that other hotel was on as well. So that whole area, I mean, to this day, hearing a siren from an ambulance, it takes me back to that moment. But every 2 minutes, ambulance coming past the hotel. And then there were all the police, there was the bomb squad, and then they sent out the army, and there were guys literally lined up outside of our hotel with big guns. And I mean, that was terrifying, because that's when we knew that we were under threat. And there were a lot of children that had lost their parents during the whole sort of ordeal that had come to our hotel, because I think we were the closest hotel.
Mm-hmm.
But there were so many kids that just didn't know where their parents were, and they had to bring in, I think it was social services, or there was a specialist or somebody who was there to try and locate these children's parents. Sorry. And I just remember that in that moment, I just felt so terrible for them. So me and my friends, we sat with them and we just tried to make a conversation with them, and they were all, you could see it, they were all so petrified. And I mean, although I was young when I was going through that, I could not imagine having such an innocent view on the world stripped away at such a young age. I mean, we're talking 5, 6, so young. And it was just really, really heart-wrenching to see that sort of thing happen. Although it happened, I think there were about 20 something thousand people in the concert hall, and no doubt every single person within that concert hall has walked away from that concert with a memorable moment in a negative light. But I think that the fact that a lot of those people were young children that didn't have to be exposed to such a violent act at such a young age, I think that's the bit that gets me every time. It's the bit that really sort of, I can feel it here every time I think about it. It's really, really hard.
And it's so hard. Also, something that I know you've talked to me about a little bit before is that whole survivor's guilt mentality, and the wondering, why did I make it through? And some of those kids and their parents didn't. So, how do you cope with those feelings?
Well, I mean, I went through a long period of time afterwards where I felt as though, although I was 17, which is still young, there were children. I think the youngest girl who passed away in that event was 6 years old, I think she was. And in that time, I felt terrible that, and this is going to sound very bizarre. Now, I'm a transgender woman, and in my mind, I thought and this was partly to do with sort of my transition, but in my mind, I felt as though I didn't serve anything to the world. And I think that's why I felt so terrible, because I thought, I don't serve anything of importance, yet these children that have had their lives taken away could have made a real difference. And right now, I mean, I would love to make a difference, and I think I probably would try to make a difference at some point. But I think in that moment in time, my mind frame was in the sense of, these people could have done more than I'm doing, and yet I was given the gift of surviving. And that did make me feel very guilty for a long time, because I think when you are faced with, well, you quite literally are staring death in the face,
Yeah.
you don't want to think of yourself. I had a lot of therapy to sort of help me get through that mind frame and break out of that mind frame. I've been diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder,
Yeah.
which I'm not sure if you know much about it, but it normally stems from, you have your short-term memory and your long-term memory. And when something really traumatic happens to you, it's often quite difficult for your brain to process it from the short term to the long term.
Yeah.
So I went through a long period of time feeling as though I was still in danger. But that survivor's guilt came under that. And so with the therapy, it was more to sort of change the way I thought of things, which was, instead of thinking, why did I survive and they didn't, they could have done more than me, it was more of, okay, I survived, they didn't. That's very tragic what happened to them, and if I could change that, I would. However, for that reason, I've got to try and live my life as best as I can, because I know that that night other people weren't given the gift of doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So in some sense, although it is still quite a morbid thought, it changes that from a negative to a positive, in terms of, live my life to the full and do what I need to do to be happy, do what I need to do in life to enjoy, this short time that we have got on this planet. Because as that night has taught us, that life can just be taken away from you at any moment, and when you least expect it. So I think that was possibly the biggest way I changed that mind frame. And it did take a long time. It didn't happen overnight. It wasn't something that, one day I was told that and then I just thought, oh, okay, yeah, I'm going to think like that. It took a lot of work. And I spoke to a lot of different therapists, and, and I'm not ashamed to say that either. I think when you go through something big or small, if you feel like you can't help yourself get through to that moment in time, then it's so healthy for you to reach out to somebody else and do that.
Yeah.
Because it's just not worth your life.
Definitely.
And that's what it can cost for a lot of people. A lot of people can take their own life because of things like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's just not worth it.
And I think it's also so crazy because it's something that happened during a concert, which is something that's supposed to be, enjoyable and a time to have fun. Have you been able to do those things since? Have you been able to go to concerts or do anything?
Yes. And it took me a long time, but yes. So I went to go and see Ariana Grande again.
Oh, wow.
In Manchester. She hosted a festival there, and it was very, very emotional for everybody, because she performed one last time, where she doesn't perform anymore because of that night. And she got a little bit upset, and I think anybody who was there had booked that ticket to sort of try and get closure.
Mm-hmm.
But it was very, very calming to do that, I think, because I didn't want to go back to Manchester in general after that, because I just thought if I see certain things, it might trigger me. But I did go to a concert before that, but it wasn't in Manchester. I went to go and see Nicki Minaj in Birmingham.
Oh, okay.
Very different environment, heavily policed, but going to a place as big as Manchester,
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that did take me a while to go. But even after that, so I saw her in the August. 3 weeks later, I went and saw her again in Sheffield, which isn't that far from here. But yeah, so I have been to a few concerts since, and I think, I've also seen Beyonce since.
Oh,
Sorry, but yeah, so I have been to a few different places since, and it did take a lot of courage for me to do that.
mm-hmm.
But I realized that I'm not going to let that one incident take away from every other good time that I've had at a concert. And if anything, it has just made me more, what's the word? Vigilant? Is that the right word? More, I'm able to sort of try and foresee something that could happen. So
Mm.
at every concert now, I'm the last person in that entire building to leave, because I'm terrified of what I might be faced with.
Yeah.
But in terms of going to other concerts, yes, I have been to quite a few since then now, but it did take a while.
And do you think you live your day-to-day life differently because of what happened?
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm so much more alert with a lot of different things. There's two different, I mean, it's affected me in two different ways. In some sense, it's affected me in a good way, in the sense of I now do not take any day for granted. But in the same time, it has also made me very, very, I pick up on things much easier, pick
Mhm.
up on danger much easier because I'm looking for it. So in some sense, it's affected me in a not so enjoyable way. But in other senses, day to day, yeah, it has really, really improved my, what's the word? I don't take life for granted. That's
Yeah.
the moral of it.
I think it is so incredible to hear stories from people who have been through tragedies like this and come through the other side, because you have this whole other experience that nobody else, obviously thousands of people that were there experienced it, but your everyday person doesn't go through something like that. So to have your voice be able to teach people, things that you've been able to learn from based on that sadness and that fear, it's just amazing how that can be, like you said, of course, it carries negative things with it, but to be able to have the strength to overcome that and to be able to learn the importance of life based on almost losing your own is very
Hmm.
powerful. So if you were able to teach or share something with somebody based on your tragedy, what would you want them to know about life that you've been able to figure out because of that?
I would say mainly that when you have certain times in your life where you doubt what you're doing or you doubt where your future is going,
Mhm.
for in good reason as well, such as if you are taking a career path that you don't want and you know that you don't want it and that's not what you want to live the rest of your life doing, or something that's big like that, then I would say to seriously make the right decisions for you and don't act as though you've got another day to spare all the time, because I would say get the most out of life because you never know how long you have, no matter who you are. That young girl passed away at 6 years old. you know Nothing is promised, another day is not promised, and it happened like that, and that's all it takes. So I think just to really focus on what you want to get out of life, and there is nothing I can stress more than to let go of the really petty things that don't matter, and just get on with having a good time, because nothing is worth happiness.
Thank you so much. I think you're incredible, and I'm so grateful that I was able to connect with you. I'm so grateful that you're here speaking to me and you made
Thank
it
you.
through and you're still able. I think it's amazing that you faced something like that and are still able to enjoy concerts and do the things that you love to do. And, I know that probably took a lot. So good for you. And I hope that
Thank you.
keep up the positive attitude that you have, because I'm sure at times you've got to have flashbacks and things like that. But I'm sure there's days where you think back to what happened and,
Of
that's going to be
course.
difficult too.
Of course, it's coming up to 4 years. On So this is Sunday the 16th. Yeah, 16th. So Saturday the 22nd
Mhm.
is 4 years. And I mean, wow, 4 years. I would not have known it had been 4 years. It's gone like so quick, so quick. But every single year on the 22nd, me and the friends who went through that with me, we get together and we do something. You know, sometimes we'll go to a theme park, or sometimes we will just have a little garden party or something. It's quite difficult at the moment being in a pandemic and
Yeah.
knowing what to do. But yeah, we always do something to. It's a bit of a bittersweet thing. We either do it because we want to take our minds off of things, because obviously it's a difficult thing to do,
Mhm.
but also we do it to mark the fact that we survived, and it's a celebration that we've made it through, and it's no longer an open wound on our life. It's more of a healed scar that we still will always see as there, but it's just a mark on us now. It doesn't define us.
Yes. Well, thank you so much. And as you get into those next couple days, I hope that you're able to get together with them, or at least reach out to them and connect somehow. I think I never thought about that. That's a great idea, to be able to, keep that unity and that connection that you guys have from that experience, and be able to make something, somewhat positive out of that. So yeah, that's a great idea. I'm glad that you're able to do that.
Thank you.
And I hope that.
Yeah, it's definitely something I'd recommend if somebody else has been through something tragic. If dates mean a lot to somebody, I mean, I'm somebody that dates mean a lot to me.
Mhm.
And I think, because I saw the video where you were talking to somebody who was in 9/11,
Mhm.
and I remember in the video she said that she celebrates the second birthday.
Yeah.
And things like that it's a great part of healing, because you try and turn that day from something negative into something celebratory, and I think it's really special to do that.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time. I really, really enjoyed
Thank
hearing
you.
from you. I wish you all the best, and definitely
Thank
reach
you.
out if you have any questions, or if you ever want to talk. I'm definitely here for you. So thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much, and thank you so much for giving me your time as well.
Yes,
It's really nice to sort of share my story, so
yes,
I'm really
definitely.
grateful for giving me that platform.
Yes, absolutely. Well, we will be in touch. I will
Yeah,
send you everything when it's posted and tag you and everything. So definitely
thank
stay
you.
tuned for that. And yeah, I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day as well.
Thank you, you too. It's so lovely to meet you properly.
Thank you. All right,
Take care,
take
bye.
care.